Good morning, folks. We're back out of Dad's shop today, and today I'm going to be working on this engine. This is an Ottawa drag saw engine from probably the 1920s. I don't know exactly what year this is. Let's see if we can see the tag on it. But as you can see, I've rigged myself up an electric starter here. I've kind of had this engine running about 20 years ago. We bought it, I think probably about 2002 or 3-ish. And I did have it running then, but I had to run the governor by hand on it. I've got no fuel tank of any kind on it. I was just sucking fuel out of a can, and I ran it a little bit, and that was it. So we're going to work on this today and see if we can get this thing to actually run. I rigged up a electric motor to crank it over so I can get up here and fiddle with the carburetor and the spark and everything while it's cranking over. And we are going to hook it up to a battery and coil. The Webster tripolar oscillator, the old magneto on it, does spark, and I think that if we get it running I may be able to hook it back up. But I know that when I had it running a little bit 20 years ago, I had to run it off of a coil to get a hot enough spark to get it to start. So that's what we're going to start with today. We're going to hook up the battery and coil, get a little bit of gas, get a little bit of carb cleaner. Maybe I can spray a fog of carb cleaner into the mixing chamber on it, get it cranking over. I think that electric motor will probably almost crank it over fast enough to latch the governor out on it. I'm not positive of that, but I'll bet it'll be close. The governor right now just has one old lightweight spring on it. So what we're going to do first, I already went around and I oiled up everything that should be oiled on it. I got a jug with a little bit of gas in it here. I got a coil out that we can hook up. Let's get that stuff hooked up, and then I'll probably have to give the flywheels a spin and have Dad plug the cord in at the same time to get it running. At least then I can sit up here and fiddle around with the carburetor and the spark and try to get this thing to at least pop off a couple times here. Okay, I got my coil and my battery down here. I've got a wire coming from the igniter down to the coil. Coil, red wire goes to the positive of the battery, and then the negative of the battery, when I hook it up, is just grounded to the frame of the engine here. That will complete my circuit, and actually, if I touch it on there, you can see, because those points are closed except when it fires, that it make a little spark there. So I'm gonna set the camera down over here. Dad, I'm gonna need you to go over and plug the cord in once I hold the compression in on this, and I'll give the flywheel a spin, then have you plug the cord in.
I can do that.
There's a primer cup on here. I'm gonna put a little bit of gasoline in this primer cup, let it down into the cylinder, and then we'll get this cranking over and see if we can make this thing pop or not. Okay. All right. Okay. We got it cranking over. I can just hold that. Yeah, it's spinning over fast enough that the governor is latching now, so I guess when I want it to fire, I can pull that out. I'm gonna put a squirt of gasoline right into the carburetor. be firing at all. Okay, let's see if we can get it spinning over again.
Tell me when.
I'm ready whenever. Okay, now I'll hook the wire up. Put a little bit more fuel in the carburetor. Boy, it doesn't seem like it's wanting to fire. Good. Okay, you already unplugged it again. Okay, let's see if we can get it cranking again. Yep, I'm ready. Okay. I know we've had this thing firing in the past. I wonder if this battery's not hot enough for it. Okay, I went and got a bigger battery, and when I jump that across there, that makes a lot healthier sparks. So we'll try it again with a battery that's making a little bit hotter sparks, see if we get any fire this way. So we'll go ahead and get it cranking, then I'll hook the battery back up.
Ready?
Yep. Yeah, we'll put a little more gas in the carburetor. Turn it off. I don't know what's going on over here now. Well, it fired, but I don't know what the hell's going on over there making all that noise. Oh, I see. The belt's
Spinning that thing.
yeah, the belt's just rubbing on our spacer in there, and that's what's spinning around. Okay, that's what was making all that noise. Yeah, I didn't know what was causing that noise all of a sudden, but I didn't like it. Okay, we're gonna try this again. And this time I'm gonna I've got just a rubber hose stuck on here. This is my fuel pickup. That's still set wherever it was 20 years ago when we got this to run for a few minutes, so I'm going to leave that alone for right now, but I'm going to stick the fuel line down in my jug of gas so that we can actually suck some fuel up here. See if we can get this thing to fire a few times. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right from when we used that motor to start the John Deere, as soon as you unplug the plug, then the motor will free spool so it's not bogging the engine down. So if it fires a few times in a row, then go ahead and pull the plug. Okay, this seems totally safe. I'll have to reach in here, push that valve in to get it cranking over, then get it cranking over, then hook the battery up. Then we have a gas jug down here going through a rubber hose into here. Then I can choke it by hand. Then we'll see if we can get this thing to suck up a little fuel and pop a couple more times here. Okay, I just threw another spring on the governor. I was trying to latch out constantly. I was having to pull the latch open by hand to get it to fire. Let's try this again here.
You want to fix that noise?
And there's no good way to fix it.
Might be dangerous.
Okay. Alright, yep, it should be good.
Ready?
Yep. Okay, so we're getting some fire now. It's firing, it's latching the governor out. The governor right here, it's latching, the engine's firing. I need to figure out my fuel mixture a little bit better here. I'm just trying to cover up the intake a little bit more or a little bit less to draw more fuel in there. And I do kind of feel like we're gonna have to get some sort of a gas tank rigged up here that's gonna have a check ball so that when it's sitting there free coasting the flywheel, we're not having all the fuel drain back down and then have to suck it all the way up that tube again. But I'm going to try one more time to keep it running just a little bit longer here before we start trying to figure out how we're going to try to rig up a fuel system on this thing. Okay, go ahead and plug it back in. Okay.
I got most of the train since we owned it.
I'm pretty sure it is. Get my battery unhooked again there. All right, so I do believe it is going to run for us. So we need to get some sort of a fuel system hooked up here. We might have to take this brace out. I don't know how integral that is to the whole thing right now. But we need to get a fuel tank down here below that fuel pickup that I can run some sort of a hard line and come up with a check valve and have it permanently mounted in there. So let me go look around and see what I can come up with for that. Okay, well that is not the prettiest gas tank ever, and it's still got the old sediment bowl hanging off the bottom of it. I will definitely thread that off there and find a plug for it before we take it anywhere. But the gas tank is in there. It's not ideal. It still has a rubber hose for pickup tube, but I think it will work for now, at least to see if we can get this engine running. I was able to thread a fitting on the bottom of it and make a check ball out of a BB, I could suck air through it but not blow it back down through. So I think it'll keep the fuel right up at the carburetor where it needs to be. There might be a few of you that recognize that gas tank. That's the one that was underneath the hood of the 27 Dodge Brothers when we got it, that we used as our temporary fuel tank to get it running. Okay, we're going to try this again with a fuel setup where it should keep fuel to the carburetor, so hopefully I can regulate that. It was trying to latch itself out. Oh, before I do that, I need to put a heavier spring on my trip arm here because they're just flopping all over the place. So this little bitty spring that's on there is not doing hardly anything at all. Let's go over and look in the spring box and see if we can find a heavier duty spring to put in that one's place. You just have to leave that one there. I can't get it out of there. There we go. Okay, I think I'm ready to crank this over again. I got a heavier spring installed on here, so hopefully that latch won't be flopping all over. Put a dollop of oil down the oiler hole since I haven't got a oiler on here yet. You ready to plug it in, Dad?
Oh, of course not.
Let's see if we can make this thing run and stay running on its own for a little bit.
Ready?
I am now. Okay. Now I gotta get the battery hooked up. Uh-oh. Well, at least it's trying to run. I do kind of feel like maybe once, I don't know, there's no good way to get the belt off of this damn thing once it starts running. Because this belt just barely fits between the flywheel and this casting where the drag saw used to go on there. But I do feel like it would benefit from being able to get the belt off of there. Let's see if we can get it to stay running a little bit longer here. I feel like we're getting a little bit closer though.
Ready?
Yep. I'm going to try opening up the needle another turn so I don't have to keep trying to choke it with my finger the whole time. And we'll try it again here. Yep. Okay. I wonder if now that I know it's firing and everything, if I can just get that belt off there and try cranking it over by hand and see if we can get it to fire and try to take off. Be worth a shot anyway. Definitely getting more compression as it goes. I think that needs to be back for starting. Oh, by golly, it's running, and it's running under its own power now. That's more than it's done in a long, long time.
No, we don't have Come on, old girl. Everything on this thing is just
unbelievably worn out. That also fights you a little bit when you're trying to get stuff to run right. But do it. Okay. Oh, of course, as soon as I get the camera going. All right, let's see if I can get it to fire back up here. I took one of the springs back off the governor here, so we're just running with the one old rusty spring, very little tension on the governor. So it slowed it back down. That helped a lot. Let's see if we can get it to start again here. There she popped. Okay, if I keep my finger over the intake so it sucks a little harder each time, it seems to be doing pretty good. So I need to make something that I can make. Like this doesn't have like a little choke plate or anything, so I need to come up with something that I can make a little restriction out there on the end of that to make that suck a little harder. Because if I uncover it, that's what happens. So I need to come up with something to cover the end of that mixer, just so it sucks a little bit harder, because we're running it way slower than it should be run. So you're not getting as hard a suction each time. So when you're running slower, lots of times, if they've got like our John Deere has a little plate that just folds over the intake, you can just close that halfway. But we don't have that option on here. So let me do a little looking and see if I can come up with something to use as a restrictor on there. Alright, we moved the engine outside. I found a pretty simple solution for using as a choke plate on there. I just went home, got this magnet. You can just move it out of the way to start it. Once you start it, slide it right up in front of there. Works good. This poor old engine must have a million hours of runtime on it, because everything on it is just absolutely wore out. Everything wiggles and wobbles and moves around. Just, it must have gotten used and abused for years and years and years. But I got it now. Once I got that magnet on there for a choke plate, it seemed like it was running pretty decent in the shop. So let's try to fire it back up and see if it'll sit here and run for a little while. Alright, I can just slide that magnet off to the side so that I can get in there to choke the engine. I'll choke it once. And then hook up my battery and we'll crank her and see if it'll start up again. There, it did something. There we go. I'll stick my magnet back in front of there. I went into our shelf of oilers in there and found an oiler that you could stick on there. There we go. Yeah, like I always say out here, you gotta excuse the noise of the traffic. Lots of vehicles rolling by here and they seem awfully loud on the camera. But the old Ottawa drag saw engine seems to be running pretty darn good for being a golden worn out as it is. I'll let it sit here and run. We'll come check up on it here in about another 15-20 minutes if it's still sitting here running. Okay, it was sitting here running and all of a sudden it up and died. I came back out and it started and I thought it was blowing compression around one of the valves, but it's not. You can see right there around that head bolt, it was blowing soot out around that head bolt. I think that it blew the head gasket and we got compression leaking coming down that bolt and around the head of that bolt. So I'm going to drag this back in the shop. Tomorrow morning I'll come out here and I've got some head gasket material in there. So tomorrow morning I'll come out here and we'll make a new head gasket for this thing. Well, it's tomorrow and I'm back out at Dad's, but I got looking and I don't have any head gasket material left. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and get the head pulled off of here so that I got it off and I can make certain that that's what the problem is. And then when my head gasket material gets here, I'll get a new head gasket made for this and I will show it in the video that I take down at Old Treasures with it running down there. But for right now, we can at least go ahead and I'm going to have to pull the gas tank back off, pull the nuts off of the head bolts, and we can slide the head off of there and take a look at the gasket and see how it looks. Wonder how long it's been since the head's been pulled off of this thing. Well, the first head bolt was barely snug. Next one was barely snug. Hell, maybe there's nothing wrong with the gasket. Actually, with the, yeah, all those head bolts were loose. So that probably, I feel like there's a better chance there's something wrong with it. You're more likely to blow the gasket out if the bolts are all loose. Yeah, none of those were even what I would consider tight. I didn't have to lean on the ratchet on any of them, just loosened them up. That one's gonna go hard the whole way. It almost makes me wonder if somebody had the head off of it and just slapped it back on there loosely, and that was awfully loose. Come on, let go. And there definitely is a chunk of the head gasket missing right there. That looks like a factory made head gasket though. Maybe not, maybe it's just
see where it's leaving around the bolt.
yeah. Yep, that's the bad spot right there.
See right there on the head, that black spot?
Yep. Yeah, it was just coming out that spot and running right down the bolt. Well, honestly, that's pretty damn thin gasket material. We've got stuff that's that thick. Hey, look at what we got. I thought we'd have to have something thicker than that, but we got gasket material that's that thick over here, so I might be able to make a gasket for it today. Well, the gasket material that we do have here is quite a bit thinner than what's on there. Plus, I already got some ordered. That's the correct stuff for making a gasket for that. So we'll just wait until, let's see, the gasket material is supposed to be here Friday or Saturday. We'll be hauling stuff to Old Treasures on Saturday, but I can put this back together on Monday and we can haul it down the back of one of the pickups. So thanks for watching, everybody. Like I say every week, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video if there's somebody you think might enjoy this video, and come on back next week. We'll have a video of something here for you to watch.